Hello guys, this will be the first part of the Rob guide I promised, and the first thing I'll begin to do during this first part is go over the pros and cons. And so, the pros. He is good at brick walling the opponent. He can just keep them out with multiple hitboxes. He's good at brick walling, if you know what that is. He has reliable kill options, mainly up air and up throw. Up throw, yes, it's been nerfed, but it still works. Kinda. He's got good disjoints. Usually, it's mostly projectiles, but it's also in the form of neutral air, and maybe back air, I guess. But yeah, he's pretty good with the disjoints. Not too many disjoints, but still, the ones he has are pretty good. He's somewhat heavy, so he's not gonna die really early, or anything. He's not gonna die, and he's gonna die a little later than normal. And combined with his long distance recovery, it can be even harder to kill Rob. Sorta. We'll get in the cons about that. He also has auto-cancelable aerials, and auto-canceling, if you don't know, is basically you use an aerial at a certain height and you'll land with no lag. Of course, a good auto-cancel, one that's worth something, is one that you can do in a short hop. Like that. And that, you know? If you can short hop auto cancel an aerial, then that's a good aerial, pretty much. And he also has decent combo and string potential. And so he has a guaranteed down throw to aerial combo, which you'll want to be doing a lot, actually, whenever you get the chance. Because it's an easy 20%, really. Just go for it. Unless it'd be a bad idea to go for a grab, which I'll get into later. But other than that, he also has things like this. And I'll get more into the combos, but those are some of the most common ones you'll probably do. And now for the cons. He has trouble landing. This is because he's a little floaty. And yeah, it's mainly because he's floaty, but also the large hitbox kind of adds on to that. He struggles against rushdown. Yeah, like rushdown opponents such as Captain Falcon here, they kind of give Rob a hard time because, well, combined with his heavy weights and his large hurt box, he's comboed relatively easily, and a slight trouble landing makes that a little worse for Rob. So, really fast characters like Sonic, Captain Falcon, just think Rushdown. Those are going to be what Rob kind of struggles with. He's going to really need to try to wall them out as best he can. It's going to be extra hard with those characters, though. He doesn't have a quick neutral air to escape combos and strings. Well, now he does have a really quick forward air, like, that is fast. Pretty much. That's pretty fast. It's pretty reliable to get out of any combo that's not guaranteed. But usually what's better is to have a neutral air that covers all your body, and you see Rob kind of has that, it has startup, which is not good for getting out of combos. Or strings, because a combo would be like true combo, which is unescapable. But yeah. He also, again, large hurt box, but his recovery. Now it might go a long distance, like as we'll see here. Yeah, I went all the way from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. That goes a long distance. And you can even like move around while doing it kinda too. And you can use your aerials out of it, but the problem is it's very vulnerable. You see, you can't air dodge out of it. And although you can defend yourself by using an aerial, you lose a little bit of height doing that. And you don't regain fuel by just not using it. You have to land on the stage to regain fuel. Not even grabbing the ledge will regain fuel. You have to land on this. You have to get up on the stage. As long as you're on the stage, you'll be regaining fuel. So about that, if I'm forced to just keep like using aerials to defend myself in some way, like that's not a good example, but still, if I keep getting forced to do that, which I have been forced to in the past, I'm just gonna die of losing all fuel and not being able to up it anymore. So he has a pretty vulnerable recovery. Just so you know, and also they can even just predict the attack and then go for a spike afterwards. You know, it's vulnerable. You really have to be careful with it if you can. So, that will be it for the pros and cons. Now let's get into some more fundamental stuff. So zoning and brick walling in the neutral. This is something that you want to do a lot of with Rob. Zoning and brick walling. Now, what this pretty much means is you want to keep the opponent out, like I said. You don't want to let them get in on you because then they get combos, and Rob gets comboed easily. So what do? You just keep them away with things like projectiles, such as these. Or even just like kind of pressuring them kind of up close, but retreating maybe. With forward airs, neutral airs. You know, on taller characters, back airs, but don't do that to shorter characters, because they can just duck under it. And actually, shorter characters don't even have to duck under it usually if you want it to auto-cancel. I see it auto-cancel because... But you don't want to fast fall with it or else... You have a little bit of landing lag like that. But yeah. So actually, let me go into each one of Rob's zoning tools over here. Let's get into his best one, probably. The one that... If you're a Rob, you should do this. Don't miss out on this move. Neutral air. If you haven't guessed it already, this is a good move. Like, seriously. It's very easy to auto-cancel. And even if you do miss the auto-cancel, it has very little end lag anyways. So, if you don't feel like auto-cancel... So if you miss the auto-cancel, as long as you're behind them, you might be able to react just in time. If you're in front of them, any bit of landing lag can get you shield grabbed. But, of course, if it's auto-cancelable, and you kind of, like, distance yourself a little bit with it, with this move, you won't be able to be punished very easily at all. And so, this is just a really good move. But you don't want to just do this because, well, doing any one move over and over again will become really predictable and easy for your opponent to deal with. So, here's another option. Forward air. Now, unlike neutral air, forward air comes out quick. It doesn't, like... but it only stays in front of Rob. It comes out a lot quicker. But it has more distance in front of Rob, just not being disjointed. It has... So, neutral air. Covers Rob, but slightly less distance, I think. Well, actually, no. Maybe it's pretty similar, actually. But forward air has a lot less startup, so it's a lot quicker. You want to... Sometimes you can just, like, forward air out of shield. That's not a bad option at all, actually. Other times you want a neutral air out of shield, but if you need it quick, forward air. But, other than aerials, he's got down tilt. Down tilt is just really fast. Like how fast I'm able to use it in succession. Now, if I'm spaced properly for my opponent, and they're trying to shield it, then, they're not going to be able to just shield grab me. And because it's going so fast, they're not just being able to... They're going to have to... They're going to have to find some other way to react because of the distance. And it can be a very difficult move to deal with every so often if you space it right. In fact, all Rob's moves can be very difficult to deal with if you space them properly. That's the thing, Rob is kind of about spacing, as a lot of characters tend to incorporate, but when you brick wall and like zone and try to like keep characters away while still pressuring them, you wanna space. But let's talk about something you want to do at a far distance. Let's say your opponent is not approaching you that much, and you want to get them to approach you so that you can kind of like punish them maybe, or pressure them up close like I just demonstrated with those 3 moves. You can laser, which is probably your best option. My favorite one of laser is the half charge, like that, because it seems a little quicker, so it's a little more difficult for your opponent to react to, and it tends to combo into the top, or the gyro, I mean, if you throw it. But about the gyro, actually, the gyro, I don't know if you want to, like, sometimes you want to use it a long distance, but other times you don't. You see, if you're against a rushdown character, and they're kind of being patient, and they're being oddly patient, you don't want to throw it out, because it's gonna take you to run toward. You're gonna have to run towards it to grab it if it didn't hit them, unless you're okay with them grabbing it. Because once they grab it against you, that means they can use it against you, of course. That's the problem with the gyro. They can use it against you if they know how to grab it. However, this can be solved by shooting it at times where it's difficult to react to it, when you're maybe mid-range, like this. And you just want to throw out the gyro. And yeah, the gyro... You see, once you have the gyro in hand, this is usually what you want. You can do a lot with it, such as Z-dropping, stuff like that. Like, I will get into Z-dropping later, but for now, just learn when to eject the gyro. Now, against projectile characters, such as maybe Mewtwo, Lucario, Samus, you know, the ones that shoot big orbs for projectiles, the gyro will actually it'll just like absorb it and take it as if nothing happened, usually, if it's just standing there. Unless it's at full charge, then they might go through it. Especially Lucario's Aura Sphere, if he's at like a 120 damage or something, that Aura Sphere is gonna override the top. However, even then, if the top is like flying at them like that, then it's gonna have a little more priority, so maybe then it wouldn't do that, but yeah. So, gyro, another time you want to do it is like if you think they're just gonna shield it, because then it'll disappear and you can just eject another gyro again, and you've just applied a little bit of shield pressure by doing that, which is good. And so, Rob's gyro, against people who know how to grab it, you want to be intelligent about how you use it. Maybe once you KO them, you eject the gyro and take it for yourself, for example. That's not a bad idea, actually. In fact, that's probably a very easy way to do it. It's just, it doesn't work during the beginning of a match, because of course they don't die during the beginning of a match, unless they SD. But, you're not going to get that normally. Anyways, so use all these in tandem. At far distance, laser, sometimes gyro, if you think they're running at you to stuff an approach. Keep in mind they can dash attack to grab it. If they time it correctly, of course, but still. And, once you do get close, or once they get close, you want to use your aerials and your down tilts. But also forward tilt. That's not bad. Maybe jab every once in a while. I don't know about that, though. But yeah, like, forward air and neutral air are probably my favorite things to do. I'm kind of a rushdown opponent. I'm kind of I don't know about rushdown, but like get in your face, approach you kind of person. And these are actually decent approaching options. Neutral air and forward air. And those are not bad, actually. So, there's Rob's neutral game. It's all about keeping the opponent out with these moves. He prevents them from getting in by being almost unpunishable with them, if done correctly. And at a far distance, of course, projectiles. That's pretty much the whole idea of projectiles, keeping your opponent away at a far distance. So, now, what this can do, all this pressure, you know, I went over, like, what I showed currently was all just attacks. Now, what this can do is it can kind of pressure your opponent to do one of two things, but maybe different things. One of those things is they might just feel safe trying to shield it. They can try to shield attacks, thinking like, okay, I'm just going to shield this, and maybe I'll either shield grab, or I'll just continue on my way trying to rush down, attempting to at least. So, if they do seem to be shielding things a lot more, you can try to, after aerial, like using like retreating forward airs, retreating neutral airs for a while, you might be able to get them. You can try to go for a tomahawk, which is like this. Basically, you just jump in and grab. The jump makes them think that you might aerial, so they might be keen to shielding. But instead, you just go for a grab. usually people like to do that behind, like they'll be like, well, except they'll be closer, of course, to grab, but still. But yeah, you can conditioning them into shielding by doing that. But another thing it can do is it can force them to approach. If they're trying to be all defensive and stay in their shield, and they realize, this isn't really working because he's just retreating, then they might try to go in. And if you can recognize that they're going in on, they're trying to go in on you now, rather than you going in on them and being all tactical, then you can get punishes on them. Because here's the thing, if you force your opponent to commit to anything, you're in a situation to punish. Now, of course, it's not so easy as like, oh, well, they did something, I can always punish no matter what. Because, of course, they got that grab, so you can't just sit there and shield and wait for a dash attack, because they might not do that. They might just dash in and grab if they realize all you're going to do is shield. And so you can just kind of bait with that. You can get them to do things. You can kind of almost force them, almost. And so Rob can be difficult to deal with all that. It can be difficult to approach, it can be difficult to wall out themselves, which will force them to approach, but of course it's difficult to approach Rob again. And so this, when all done correctly, makes Rob a pretty threatening... can make Rob pretty effective in the neutral, actually. He does it pretty well. That's the thing. And of course, like I said about getting that grab, if you're forcing them to shield, down throw the up air is really freaking good with Rob. And and you know what? I've had times where it really does feel like it actually combos for a kill. I'm gonna see. Let's put him at 100. Yeah, you see, with no DI, that killed at 100%, and it was a true combo too. Now, of course, your opponent's going to be DIing, so that's not really going to happen, but they are going to be put into a situation where they might air dodge, and you can read that air dodge possibly, or maybe they'll attack and you'll just kind of like stay out of the way of that attack, but just enough so that you can get right back in after that attack ends with an up air. You know, you get them in an unfavorable position at least with that down throw, and like you following them, waiting for the perfect opportunity for an up air, which is your best kill option. Seriously, this move is really good. It used to be where I think his most reliable kill option was up throw, but of course with the nerf it got a little worse. So now his most reliable option is up air, which is not bad at all. I've killed at like 90 and 80 at the top of the screen with this. At the top of the screen, of course, with this move, but still. Up air juggles are a thing. And like they can be done, of course, by predicting air dodge reads and whatnot. But also, like, maybe if it does send them upwards, you can predict neutral airs out of like sometimes people just like to mash A when they're being comboed because they think like, oh, well, I'm just gonna get out of this combo real quick with my neutral air that'll push you 3 miles away. That comes out frame 3, and like, yeah, I'll just get out. I'll be safe, whatever. But you see, unless you still blatantly go in trying to get the combo that's not even guaranteed anymore, then it's gonna work. But if you kind of lay back a little bit and you make them throw out their neutral air, but you lay back just a little bit so that you don't get hit by it, then you can just go straight back in with an aerial of your own. You can go a little bit under them if they're high up with an up air, which, of course, like I said, can lead into a kill. Okay, so... But, of course, up air is not your only thing to do out of that. You also, once you do have them in that situation where, oh, I'm just going to mash A for neutral air, you can sit back a little bit and forward air, because, of course, this move has a decent range. Not exactly melee Marth range, but, you know, range. Enough. It has enough range, is what I'm trying to say. And that's good. You can kind of challenge neutral airs like that, as long as they don't come out on that very first frame of their execution. because usually neutral airs tend to get weaker. Like, they stay out for like half a second or so, and like if you hit them during that time, you're gonna get hit. But they're really only strong as soon as you throw them out. Once they've been out there for a little bit, they become a lot weaker, and pretty much anything can challenge them. Anything can just kind of override it. Any attack, at least. But of course, if they're really low to the ground, you might be able to just kind of like fast fall right before they neutral air and like go for a shield grab if they're thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna neutral air him. So that's the thing about the combo, about strings. People think like that if it's not guaranteed, it's not good. But the thing is, it can be actually, because even if they take a good option such as jumping away rather than just neutral air and like air dodge, maybe they jump and air dodge at the same time. That's pretty good. That's not too bad actually to get out of most of those things. But there's ways around all this stuff. You just gotta be good at predicting it. That's the thing about strings. You gotta predict. But true combos off of combos off of grabs, especially if they're true combos like that, those are really good for characters in Smash 4. And all these things that I just mentioned about Rob is kind of like why I believe Rob is actually a high tier character. I don't know how high, but like he's not S tier in my opinion. He's definitely not really like mid-low or anything like that. He's kind of like either high or high-mid. He's a good character, seriously. In my opinion, he does have a lot of potential. But before I go, let me get into his second most reliable kill option. Up throw. And up throw? Now, this move used to kill on an average about like 140, I'd say. But now it's more like 160. And if I remember correctly, Rage is not accounted for in training mode. And I don't think Move Decay is either. So, if we up throw Falcon at 160, let's see if this kills. Okay, doesn't quite kill, because Captain Falcon's actually somewhat heavy, from what I hear. Let's go for 170, and it does 12 damage too, so that's pretty good. Some people just like to use up throw as the combo throw instead of down throw, but personally, I like to keep it fresh, because it's got that nerfed kill power, but it still has kill power. And the thing about the kill throw is, of course, with Rage, it becomes a lot more dependable. Like, I'm pretty sure I could kill Falcon at 150 at this percent. Or like if I was at 150 and he was at 150, I could kill him at those percents. Jeez. Yeah, I'm not used to talking this much. It's like I'm giving a presentation, and I usually don't do that, of course. So yeah, this is still a reliable kill option. If you find your opponent at like a high percent, and they're just kind of like living somehow because they're not letting themselves be susceptible to your up air and also back air. That's a good move, which I'll get into. But yeah, up throw. Second most reliable kill option, I swear. It's actually still good. I still use it. And if you want to play Rob and you want to get reliable kills, you should too. Even if you don't kill with them, you got them up in the air, and you can just jump up and up air them if you read an option correctly. So, yeah, Rob. Let's go over everything we've learned. So Rob is a brick-walling, zoning character that can keep the opponent out with projectiles, disjoints, sort of disjoints. That's projectiles too, but with disjoints and auto-cancelable moves that don't have too much lag, moves that he can retreat with. He can really just pressure up close and force approaches from afar with projectiles. And he also, and like this can get them to, this can pressure them into shielding too much or not shielding enough. And so reading those options correctly is what really will help your Rob game. And so he also, as we learned, has reliable kill options, he has a little bit of combo potential, and yeah, he is a good character overall. And of course, and so in the next part with Rob, I will be going over recovering and I'll be going more in depth with the gyro and his combo game. So stay tuned for that. This was just a little basic fundamentals thing. So if it seemed too simple for you, like you didn't really learn that much, I'm sorry. It was just a first part of a guide. It's just meant to show you the simple ropes of Rob. But there you have it. Part 1 of the Rob Guide. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for Part 2, which will be a lot more in-depth. See you then.